Hey everybody, it's Brandon Graves, or America's Drum Dad, or Beatcaster, depending on where you may find me on social media. I'm under all of those. So I'm going to give you guys a lesson today, and we're going to work on my exercise, A Place to Start, that is out of my book, Reflections for the Hands, Head, and Heart, which is available on my website. Also available on my website is my signature practice pad. And also available, if you are interested, is coaching, mentoring, and teaching through Zoom online. You can connect with me, and I'm happy to help you with sorting out your practice routine or giving you advice about pursuing your music career or just telling you how to make a really good cup of coffee with an AeroPress, if that's what you want to talk about. Although I'd be happy to do that for free. So if you want to connect with me and we do something online through Zoom, I would love that. You can direct message me through any of the social media portals that exist out there. Now, for this exercise, this is the beginning of the book because it's a great exercise to start moving your hands to at a slow pace and understanding some of the fundamentals of grip and stroke. So really quick, I want to break down for you the hand position. I feel like this gets overthought a lot of times, but I feel like it's really pretty straightforward and simple. And that's that the wrist needs to stay in line with the forearm, and the fingers only need to curve in the natural shape that they already curve in when you relax your hand. So if you take your hand and you hold it out like this, straight, flat, and then you relax that, your fingers will likely curl in. Some people's thumb and index finger come together, some people's don't. Some people have longer fingers rather than shorter like mine. So that all depends on your hand shape. And so don't overthink whether or not your thumb and index finger come together. But mine do, and some of that may be because I've held a drumstick for so much of my life. I don't know. But you want to keep your wrist straight, and then you want to insert the stick between the thumb and first finger. And I line it up with the crease of my first finger, and then I place my thumb directly across from that. If you're playing a pair of Vic Firth sticks, which I love, these are the American Heritage 5As. They're maple. They sound really cool. I usually put my thumb right at the TH and the flag, right in that area. Other sticks, I don't know. They burn my skin, so I don't use them. So this grip allows you to have your thumb directly across from your first finger, and we want the thumb print to be the dead center of the thumbprint to be right on the round in the middle of the round of the stick. So things we don't want to happen are to be off center, like below, like this, or above. We just want directly across. Now, again, for some of you, when you put your hand in this position, this gap might be large, this gap might be small. Doesn't matter. We just want these two fingers in this position. Now, as for the next three fingers, I wrap them around the stick so that you can control the motion of the stick. But the trick is you got to learn to move with the stick. So you can't just leave your fingers there. But what we want to avoid is doing the thing that you see the middle school band kids do, which is to hold on like this. So bad news bears is when you're squeezing up front and your fingers are hanging off everywhere. This leads to tension in the fulcrum, tension in the tendons running through the wrist, and will not give you the kind of ability to play nuanced rhythms and beats. So I want you to keep your thumb right here, index finger right across, and I'll also throw out, this is just my way of doing this, and this is what has worked for me, and this is what I have distilled into my own style of holding the stick from the various different teachers that I've learned from over my life. So now, once we get thumb and index finger across from each other, don't freak out about whether or not your first pad wraps underneath the stick or not. It's not comfortable for me to wrap my first finger underneath the stick. When I wrap my first finger underneath the stick, I tend to squeeze the fulcrum. Squeezing the fulcrum limits mobility. It keeps the stick from being able to move up and down. The fulcrum, I think, is primarily to facilitate movement. So if it's tense, like think of the middle of a teeter-totter. If you're sitting on a teeter-totter or a seesaw, and if the middle of that was being squeezed really hard, then the teeter-totter or the seesaw would not work. But if it was loose, then the stick would move up and down. So we want the fulcrum to remain loose. I've heard people teach before, like you should hold the stick firm enough that somebody can't rip it out of your hand. I don't think that's necessary. In fact, I think that actually chokes the vibration of the stick, and you can hear it when you squeeze the stick. It creates a deader sound. So I keep it loose, keep it relaxed. Back 3 fingers are wrapped around the stick. The stick then, and I'll show you that over here, back 3 fingers wrapped around the stick. The stick exits my palm between the knuckle and the wrist. Knuckle, wrist. So stick's exiting right back here, and I've got about an inch of stick back there. If you choke up farther than that, you can get a quieter sound out of the drums and the cymbals, but it will start to limit your rebound. And if you're farther back than that, you will get more weight forward on your stick. It will also affect the way the rebound feels in your hand, and might sting a little bit if you're at the butt of the stick. But it's also something you can utilize if you want to, but I don't recommend playing the majority of your notes in that position. So right here is your nice, comfortable position. For me, I don't keep the back of my hand flat because that doesn't feel comfortable to me to limit my motion to going straight up and down like this. I rotate to the side a little bit. Maybe that's because I am a tenor drummer in addition to being a drum set player. I like to roll the thumb right here to what I call the shoulder of the stick. So if this is the top or the head of the stick, this would be the rotating to the shoulder. And then, so we don't want the thumb on top or on the side, just on the shoulder. So it's rotated halfway. If you were looking down the stick, you could think of it like a clock. And I would put my thumb at around, I don't know, depending on which hand you're looking at, it would be like 130 or 1030 would be where my thumb is. So I can see my thumbnails when I look down. This puts my hand in a comfortable position. Like I was just going to reach out and grab a Twinkie. If I wanted to grab a Twinkie, I would just do like that and grab a Twinkie. But I don't have a Twinkie, but if you'd like to send me one, you can do that. So then from this position, I just lift my wrist up and down, and I want to work towards thinking through and feeling the rebound of the stick. Now, when you start out doing this and your fingers don't move very well yet, the butt of the stick is going to bump into your fingertips. It's going to bump into your palm. By the way, I call this portion of the palm the brake pad because we use it for downstrokes. And so the stick is probably going to bump into stuff back here when you first start. You want to start by learning to lift out of the stroke after you strike the drum and returning to the top of the arc, starting and stopping in the same place. Keeping the fingers relatively stationary. Pocket is open, so this space back here between the stick and the palm, I call the pocket. So that goes up and down, stick goes up and down, pocket stays relatively the same. Fingers are on the stick. So as the stick moves up and down, we are training the wrist to follow the motion and the fingers to stay connected. So that's the first thing we want to develop, which is called a full stroke. So now we're doing full strokes. Then what we want to do is take a look at the exercise. This exercise is called a place to start because it's a good place to start. And I'm going to play it for you now. It utilizes a paradiddle, just a right hand paradiddle. So not a full single paradiddle, which would be the right hand and the left hand portion, but half of a paradiddle, the right hand portion, to allow for lead changes in the hands. So I like to balance these exercises so that you have right hand lead and left hand lead. And when you're doing that, it allows you to get reps on your left hand. If you're a right-handed drum set player, your right hand develops a lot faster than your left hand does because your left hand literally plays like a fraction of the notes that your right hand plays when you're playing rock beats and stuff. So adding in some exercises into your life that will balance that helps with keeping your left hand up with your right hand. So at the end of each of these lines, and in some cases measures, there's a paradiddle, and that will allow me to change hands. So every time you see a hand change, you know that it was preceded by half of a paradiddle. So the exercise goes like this. Now, you'll notice that the fourth line each time is a whole line of 16th notes, and the second time they're left hand lead. The whole exercise is oriented that way so that it goes back and forth between lead hands. Playing left-handed single strokes on the beat might be a challenge for you if you're a right-handed player. The opposite may be true if you're a left-handed player. So a couple of things I want you to think about while you play this, and then I'm going to play this exercise again, and I actually want you to play it with me. Is when you go from the paradiddle, right, left, right, right, to the next phrase where the left hand leads, then you want to make sure that you make that hand transition smoothly without letting the rhythm of the paradiddle get distorted. And then especially when you move into the 16th note singles, you want that to be a smooth transition. So here's where I want you to put your attention. Put your attention on the E, which is the second 16th note of the first measure of singles. So if you can put the E in time after the paradiddle, so you would go that first two notes, 4E and a 1E. If you can keep that 1E in time, then your singles are going to have a better chance of staying in time the whole time. Because what normally happens is that note is late because it's still recovering from the two rights. Okay, now let's take this slow again. We're not going to talk about speeding the paradiddles up yet because that involves a different stroke style that we'll get to in a different video. So here we go. We're going to play this again, and I'll play it a few times so that you can play along with me. Okay, so in general, you can put on a metronome and work this with a metronome, but the initial goal is to first get the stick moving smoothly up and down. Because what you'll see, and these are a few things you can look out for, what you'll see a lot of is this. or the stick. Watch right there. See that stick stalling out right above the head? That will happen. And then when you get to your singles, they get distorted and they don't sound even. Back to the thing I said about choking the stick. See if you can hear the difference between this and this. So the second one is much deader and it pops a little bit and it's got more low end in it, but it's not full spectrum, so that you can't hear the stick humming. So you got a good pair of sticks, you'll hear that, the sound of that stick going ding, 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 ding every time you hit the pad. So that tells you that you're not choking the stick, you're not squeezing and making it so that the stick is no longer resonant. That is super important when we get to playing the ride cymbal and making the ride cymbal sing, is to have that relaxed grip on the stick. Okay, so if you are going to get my book and work on this exercise, that's awesome. If you're just gonna like figure it out from me playing it, that's awesome too. Please reach out to me. Ask me any questions you have. Again, I do Zoom lessons. We can talk. I only charge by the minute. So if you just want to like grab 7 minutes before you go to work one day and ask me some questions about stuff, we'll try to figure that out. I don't know if I'll be up when you go to work, depending on when you work, but I might be. I get it pretty early. Okay. I hope you learned something there. Feel free to ask me questions and I'll see you when I see you.